This was so unexpected. I'm always a little dubious about watching Model What I Eat in a Day because they can be a little restrictive. But let's watch what actress and model Madelyn Cline eats in a day.
First thing I do when I wake up, I usually wake up pretty thirsty, so I'll probably chug some water. My go-to is usually coffee, but I'm trying to not drink coffee on an empty stomach. However, I am addicted. Recently, I've been putting some oat milk, just regular old oat milk in my coffee, and then I'll sip on that for a while. Maybe put it in the microwave a couple times. Sometimes I'll wake up really hungry. On some days, the signature is going to In-N-Out for breakfast.
I take back everything I said before. I take it all back.
In-N-Out and coffee, breakfast of champions. My order is a double with everything on it, plus chopped chilies, animal style fry, and a Diet Coke.
I've been to In-N-Out once, maybe twice max. And the one time that I remember going, I wasn't wowed by In-N-Out. I'm aware that that could create moral uproar. But you can get chilies on your burger at In-N-Out? Absolutely will require a second visit if this is the case.
Other days, maybe I'll do a breakfast sandwich or oatmeal, maybe a smoothie.
She went from doing a double at In-N-Out with the bread, she didn't mention removing any of the bread, all the way through to a breakfast sandwich, oatmeal, then to a smoothie. That is a broad spectrum of a breakfast. And I'm absolutely here for that because we rarely see varieties in these celebrity what I eat in a days. We often see either little to no breakfast or very wellnessified breakfasts. And Madelyn Cline, we aren't even a minute in and she's exceeded all of my expectations. We're seeing Madelyn Cline not only eat breakfast but also incorporate all 3 macronutrients and just be really relatable with it as well.
After breakfast, I kind of get to doing whatever I'm doing. Usually I'll forget about lunch until I get hungry, which is probably maybe like 4, and I'll realize I haven't eaten. Then I will probably Postmate something, sandwich of some type. Usually I get a tuna melt from John's Garden in Malibu. It's their standard. I've asked them a few times to make it extra toasty, but I really love a tuna melt. That's been a big thing recently.
I love a tuna melt. I love a tuna sandwich. I love tuna. Thank you, Mum, because I did grow up in tuna and jacket potatoes. A somewhat relatableness in that she's not very rigid about what she's eating. And so sometimes she seemingly like forgets to eat and gets quite hungry. This is not me. I have never had the issue of forgetting to eat. There's an element of fluidity around what she's eating and she's like, well, I might just Postmate it. Again, privileged to be able to order your food in that way. Incorporating carbs, fat and protein in her lunch. We're seeing her have a sandwich, which is again kind of similar to what we saw with Call Her Daddy host Alex Cooper. Just really being easygoing about what she's eating and saying, you know, I really like a tuna melt. And typically in society, that's something that might be demonized because of the bread, because of the cheese, because of whatever. But Madelyn Cline isn't feeding into that. And I'm really here for it.
If I'm going to snack, especially on set, I'm probably going to go with hot Cheetos or salt and vinegar chips, those Snap Pea crisps, good old vegetables and hummus, also delicious.
We are a big salt and vinegar chip household here. My better half loves salt and vinegar crisps. I've never got the big thing about the hot Cheetos. Do I need to get into the hot Cheeto hype? Am I missing out? Again, we saw a full spectrum of foods from Madelyn there. We were talking about hot Cheetos, salt and vinegar crisps, and then we kind of went for these Snap Pea crisps. We're kind of getting a little bit more wellnessy, but it's not a narrative that Madelyn is telling us. Madelyn's just telling us snacks that she enjoys. And then she goes on to the vegetables and hummus. And this is something that's worth mentioning, is that if we enjoy foods that happen to be kind of co-opted by diet culture, we're not necessarily having them because of diet culture or because we think we should be having them. We're just having them because we enjoy them. I personally love a rice cake. I know that's co-opted by diet culture. I know people claim that rice cakes are better than bread, blah, 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 blah. I just actually quite like a rice cake. And so for me, because I'm not having rice cakes in place of something else that diet culture demonizes, I'm able to consciously enjoy that type of food without feeling any kind of shame or stigma. And so what I love is that we're seeing Madelyn incorporating vegetables and hummus, but not in place of the hot Cheetos. Like, it all goes in there, and I really love that.
And then for dinner, because usually I wait to eat lunch later, I will probably do something just like a little lighter. I love soup, chicken tortilla soup. I love a good green soup. Erewhon has a really great green soup that I like a lot. It's like lemony, it's got like broccoli and kale and like all sorts of green things. I imagine it's pretty healthy. Lemon orzo soup is really yummy, like lemon chicken and orzo. I love matzo ball soup, potato and leek soup, chili. Like, the possibilities are endless here.
At this point, I think Erewhon is unavoidable when it comes to celebrities. But I appreciate here that Madelyn was like, I just really like their soup. She didn't claim that Erewhon was better than anything else or that there was clean food at Erewhon, blah, 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 blah. She just said, I really like their soup. And we saw somebody else talk about that. I can see her face. Emma Chamberlain. Emma Chamberlain talked about going to Erewhon, and it is a privilege to be able to afford food at Erewhon. That food's ridiculously expensive. But the same as Madelyn Cline and Emma Chamberlain, without any moral value, talked about food from Erewhon. Whilst that place seemingly is unavoidable at this point, I appreciate that it was incorporated without any kind of shame or stigma or morality. But just to point out that stuff from Erewhon isn't automatically healthy just because it's from Erewhon.
Sometimes I really love to just make a charcuterie board, basically just an adult Lunchable, and then I'm good.
A charcuterie board is literally an adult Lunchable, maybe with some wine as well. I might have to take that and somehow incorporate that into my life. I just love that.
My perfect board would be brie or brie adjacent cheese. I love a good firm white cheese, not white cheddar. I love to have like a little bit of salami, prosciutto, definitely obviously crackers. I love to have some fruit on there, like grapes. Not really a big nut fan on my charcuterie boards, but I love to have like a fig jam or a cherry jam, some like veggies. One of my favorite places to go for girls' night, especially while we're shooting in Charleston, it's called Leon's Oysters and Poultry, or basically fried chicken and oysters, and they have a great orange wine selection. It's an old car garage. The front of the place opens up, and so it's like kind of open air. It's really cute, delicious food. You can sit outside, have a glass of wine, and just shoot the shit. Speaking of orange wine, I found one recently that's really lovely. It's called Ravina. Delicious. Usually that's my go-to, but if I'm feeling spiffy, I'll probably do like a martini, like a dirty martini. Extra dirty, but like not like filthy, not kinky, just a little kinky. I love olives. No blue cheese absolutely ever. They're not allowed. No blue cheese absolutely ever. Blue cheese is not allowed in the charcuterie. It is not allowed in olives. I'm sorry. No.
Oh, Madeline, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that. I could inhale blue cheese and red wine for the rest of time. Amen.
I'm not a major dessert person, but every once in a while I'll get a craving for dessert, and I really love, there's a bakery nearby that does little mini rum baba cakes, and it's just these like sponge cakes soaked in rum, and there's just a little bit of like a cream filling, and they're so yummy, and they're tiny and just enough. That's all I need. I also love tiramisu.
I love a tiramisu.
Thank you for having me, Harper's Bazaar, and don't forget to check out Glass Onion and Outer Banks on Netflix.
I take back everything I said at the beginning. I didn't really know who Madelyn Cline was. I don't know if I've seen Glass Onion. I might have done. Can't remember. But I didn't really know who Madelyn Cline was, so when I was reading up on her, it said American model and actress. And I was like, sometimes some of the model what I eat in a days have been a little bit questionable. Madelyn Cline proved me wrong. She's talking about having In-N-Out for breakfast, then she's talking about breakfast sandwiches, oatmeal smoothies. Like, there was so much variety in all of this. Within that, we saw her having carbs, fat, and protein. We saw a lot of enjoyment around food. We saw her talking about having alcohol when she felt like it, talking about having sandwiches, how much she enjoys soups. And I wouldn't even say she sprinkled in a tiny bit of wellness culture there when she spoke about Erewhon, because it just seemed like the place that had a soup that she really liked, and it happened to be from Erewhon. No talk of cheat meals, no talk of morality, shame, or stigma around food. There was still something really relatable about what Madelyn Cline was talking about, and she didn't make you feel like shit. Like I've talked about, many What I Eat in a Days can make the viewer feel like poo, because they make you think that you should be eating in a certain way, or that you're eating dirty because they're eating clean, or because we can't afford or we don't have access to it. But Madelyn Cline didn't really give off this kind of airs and grace around food. She was very open, very honest. There was so much variety. I was wrong about this one, but I'm a big fan of Madelyn Cline now, and I might need to go to In-N-Out for breakfast and try and get chilies on my burger.